I've been collecting 80s toys for a long time, and over the years, I've owned hundreds of figures. Most of them are reissues, some are knockoffs, a lot of them are just childhood survivors that somehow made it through. But today, I'm showing you three toys I own that most collectors will never have, even loose. These aren't sealed, they're not perfect, but they are real grails, at least to me.
Dynamite! Back to the 80s we go!
Coming in at number 3 is my Marine Dress Blues version of Gung-Ho from the original G.I. Joe line. This figure stands out immediately. Instead of battlefield gear, he's wearing full Marine Dress Blues, which was very different from most figures in the line at the time, and my personal favorite. Figures like this didn't always sell as well to kids. They weren't as flashy, they didn't come with big weapons, and a lot of them were skipped over on store shelves. That makes surviving examples harder to find today, especially in good shape. But what makes this figure truly special to me has nothing to do with production numbers or rarity. This is the only G.I. Joe I kept from my childhood. Every other Joe I owned is long gone, lost, broken, traded, sold in a garage sale, or just disappeared over time. But this one stayed with me. I've had it since I was a kid, and no matter how my collection changes, this one will never leave. It's not the most expensive figure in the room. It's not the rarest by any means or by any collector standards, but it's easily one of the most important pieces in my entire collection because it was mine as a kid. Number 2 is a Transformer that technically isn't even a Hasbro design. The original G1 Jetfire, or Skyfire, but we're not going to get into that argument today. That's for another video. Jetfire is actually a Japanese Macross Valkyrie that was brought into the Transformers line. That licensing situation didn't last long, which means production didn't last long either. This toy is huge, it's heavy, and it's fragile. Most of them didn't survive childhood. Loose Jetfires do exist, but complete original ones that haven't yellowed, cracked, or snapped apart are becoming harder to find every year. This one does have a bit of yellowing, and I do have a method for removing yellowing. I was thinking about doing that in a separate video at some point, but in all honesty, I didn't want to touch this one. I was afraid to mess up my Jetfire, but I do have some other toys I can try that on. I've had this Jetfire for a while now, and I don't remember exactly where I got it. I'm pretty sure I bought it online. It definitely wasn't eBay, and it probably came from one of the Transformer collector groups I'm in. It's not pristine, but it's complete, not broken, and it's good enough for me. This was another toy I had as a kid and one of my absolute favorites, so it was a must-have for my collection. I'm still trying to track down one in the box. I know they're doing some knockoffs now, and I may end up getting one of those, so that's definitely on my GRAIL list to eventually complete this toy room. Before we get to number 1, I want to mention a couple of honorable mentions. First is King Randor from Masters of the Universe. This was a late-run Motu figure, and late-run He-Man characters were made in much smaller numbers. A lot of kids never saw King Randor on the store shelves, myself included. I'll admit, I never owned this one as a kid, but when I saw him, I knew I had to add him to my Motu collection. He was in great shape, had the complete cape, and I just couldn't resist. This is easily my most expensive Motu figure. I believe I paid around $200 for him at the time. It was a lot to spend on one figure, but I don't regret it at all. I believe I got this from Reclaimers Vintage Toys, and I'll drop a link to them in the comments below. And then I'll also believe I got it off their Instagram. They post toys on there all the time. It's great. They do a phenomenal job shipping. Great guys. Highly recommend them. I've bought several toys in my collection from them, and I continue to buy from them. In fact, I just got a GoBot from them that's coming in hopefully pretty soon. I think it just shipped out. So I will drop a link to them in the comments, and a huge shout out to Reclaimers. And then there's the Power Glove. Is it the rarest toy ever made? No. But culturally, it's legendary. Even the box, especially the box, is becoming harder to find. I never owned one as a kid, but I always wanted one. That probably came from watching The Wizard with Fred Savage. When they revealed the Power Glove in that movie, it looked incredible. Unfortunately, the cool looks was where it stopped. I did get to use one at a friend's house back then, and honestly, it kind of sucked. Not kind of, it sucked. But it still looks amazing, and I'm really glad to have it in my collection, even with the partial box. There's just something about those old box designs and artwork that instantly takes me back. I picked this one up locally at a retro video game store I use and visit quite often called Found It Electronic. And my number one rarest toy is my original G1 Megatron. This is the toy that changed toy history. Megatron was modeled after a real Walther P38 handgun, and because of that, it was eventually pulled, altered, and replaced forever. I'm still surprised this toy was ever made and that we were actually allowed to run around as kids holding it and waving it in the air. If you've never seen a real Walther P38, look it up. This toy is incredibly accurate and looks surprisingly close to the real thing, right down to the fine details. Loose or boxed, owning original Megatron is owning a piece of toy industry history. One Christmas, I actually asked for both Optimus Prime and Megatron. That year, Santa got a little mixed up and he brought me Optimus Prime and Soundwave instead, and those two ended up being my two favorite Transformers to this day. But I did eventually get a Megatron as a kid, so having one again as an adult just feels right. My son actually found this one. We were at a vintage toy show in an old mall in Louisville, Texas. We got there early when they opened. We were doing our first walk around, just browsing to see if there was anything we couldn't live without. My son walks over and he whispers into my ear, "Dad, there's a guy over there with a G1 Megatron." I tried to hide my excitement, maybe a little bit leery that my son didn't know what he was talking about, and I whispered back, "Don't act like we're interested." So we walk over, I glanced at it once, kind of walked around, acted like I wasn't interested. I came back over, I picked it up, I really looked it over from head to toe. It had all the pieces, it seemed complete, it was pretty clean. I was gonna try to make a deal, but I wanted it so bad I couldn't walk away, and I'm pretty sure the vendor knew that too. So my poker face failed me. So I pulled the trigger, pun intended. I believe I paid around $300 for it, which felt pretty fair at the time. That Megatron is never leaving my collection. Later on, I picked up this acrylic display stand I found online. It was made especially for the G1 Megatron, so I could proudly display it in my collection. I've also seen some knockoff box versions of G1 coming about now. They didn't used to have any, but I want to grab one of those and put it behind my Transformer and my masterpiece, as I have as most of my Transformers, and it'll really complete the look of that shelf. None of these toys are sealed, but every one of them has a story. Every one of them has meaning, and every one of them brings me back to that same nostalgic feeling I had as a kid, and that is why I collect. If you love 80s toys, rare finds, and real collector stories, let me know in the comments. Let me know what you'd like to see. What's the rarest toy in your collection? Be sure to like and subscribe, hit that notification button. We're going to be coming out with new videos every week, hopefully eventually a couple a week, but at least one a week. And we're really excited to bring you guys what you want to see. So leave your comments below. Let me know what you'd like to see, and thanks for tuning in.